Welcome back. Well, continuing that conversation about what happens to ballot box snatchers. We've got Mr. Dennis Amakre here with us. He's a former assistant director with the SSS. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
Well, you know, at this point, many are just wondering what could be the mindsets of security agencies, particularly the military now, because if you read through some of the dailies and perhaps those who may have listened to the Chief of Army Staff saying that, it's quoted here, Burutai to Atiku, we won't disobey Buhari's order. Another report says ballot box snatchers obey orders or resign, Burutai tells soldiers. And then people just wonder who may be going out there to vote. Say, they may misconstrue these kind of messages, saying the military may just be one straight jacket mind at the moment. Say, listen, we're out here. If we see any such thing, they will deal ruthlessly or decisively with any ballot box snatcher. But those who ask you, look, if a voter goes out there and maybe something happens, or he hears or sees someone shot in the guise of a ballot box snatcher, he'll definitely be scared about voting.
Of course, but we want to look at it properly. The deployment, military people are not deployed to the polling booths. They are on the periphery as backup to the police.
But that appears secondary now, because if they listen to the Chief of Army Staff's comments,
yes, and
he says, we will deal decisively with any ballot box snatcher.
Exactly. When they are called in.
He didn't qualify that.
No, because that's the deployment. You don't have military, you know, many people will misconstrue it to mean that the military men will be right there at the ballot boxes because to watch over it. But I don't think that's the case.
If the president believes that there will be people who will carry out this rigging, as it were, and because of that he said that deal with them decisively.
Yeah.
Does that not amount to deploying the army?
The army is already deployed because they are going to be, you know, there are 3 rings of protection now. You have the NSCDC people and some policemen without arms at the polling booth. And then outside them, you have a rapid response team. Then outside the outer ring, then you have the military. So if there is any problem, they communicate to those people to move in and move in, you know. So it is not a situation of them staying at the polling booth to hold guns and then scare people.
But how big will these rings be? Because, I mean, okay, I'll go back to my hinterlands. Okay. so we have, local communities,
yes,
and then we go into, very, very local communities. We'll still have soldiers there. Are we still going to have these rings? How big is a polling unit?
Well, the ring will adjust to the environment that, the polling booth is located. But you see, this, all the hue and cry about the whole thing, you know, politicians do this all the time, if you remember very well.
No, but Chief of Army Staff is not a politician.
Yeah.
Chief of Army Staff is not a politician. And if you listen to his rhetoric, it looks as if it's unambiguous.
The Chief of Army Staff has been commanded to do that this year, this election. In 2015, the police was commanded to do the same thing.
But police is
shoot
different.
at sight.
But that of the army doesn't make it right.
Yeah, you know, originally we should not even have the army.
Because there's a subsisting court order that stops the army from the military.
We're not supposed to get them involved.
From being deployed during elections.
Yes.
So is this directly flouting that order?
Well, I know that, this order is either misplaced because the military themselves are not supposed to be involved in internal security. But right now, because of maybe the threats that face us, they are coming in.
Because people argue with you. There are no threats whatsoever. We're not fighting any wars.
There are threats.
There are security concerns that the police can handle.
They can. I agree with you.
Do we not trust the police to handle this security
The police had always been proven to be inadequate, and they have to call in because that is what it is. If the police finds it difficult to handle a situation, they call in the military to back them up. So it is that backing up now that is causing the problem.
You said the other time, you said if the military are called in,
yes,
that means there's a chain of command even on the streets.
Of course.
During the elections.
Yes.
Who is in charge? Let's make it that clear. Because from the body language and the orders and the way that the Buratai was speaking, it would seem like he had authority to do some stuff on the field. So
you know,
when you say called in,
yes,
who is in charge on the field on election day?
The primary security agency responsible for elections is the Nigerian police. They are the ones responsible. But you see, if they find things difficult in any situation, they call in the military to assist them. Now, when we have a situation like this, which is very, very complicated actually, where we are now involving the military and the military actually making statements. They're not supposed to make those kind of statements. When they are making statements like that, it confuses people. You know, it confuses people, seriously. Because if we've not even had a situation where the threats, there are threats, and ballot box snatching is not the major threat right now.
Do you think with the statement
let him make that clear. He said
yes,
ballot box snatching is
ballot box snatching is not the major threat now. The major threats right now we are facing in this election is vote buying, and then of course there are two of them. So I will remember that.
Okay.
I will tell you. But the major threat we are facing right now is vote buying. And then if vote buying is the major threat, we should address that.
How will that be addressed before or during the elections?
That is something that INEC would have even done before now. Because right now you find out that vote buying has been going on pre-election. And then, of course, during the election, you are going to see a lot of them. We found that out in Osun.
INEC said they've done something about the integrity of the ballot paper.
Yes.
So with the introduction of that new one, that ink, the way it is, where you have to fold it, I think they say that speaks to that particular scenario where a party agent or a backup party agent may see who you cast your vote for and then relay the messages in that chain. So hopefully, perhaps when we do have them on again, we'll see if we could clarify all of those. But you know, looking at this kind of scenario, when the Electoral Act, sometimes you just wonder, because this is a question we need to ask INEC time and again.
Yes.
What scenario, how will this play out? If you say, the Chief of Army Staff, if he says he's gotten an order from the President already, and on election day, if he gets to the venue, depending on the ring, you say there are several rings, is he supposed to submit himself to INEC officials according to Electoral Act, which says the INEC will be responsible for deploying security on the day of election. So, will the Army subject themselves to the INEC chairman or INEC on this day?
That is a problem we have already. Because INEC is supposed to be responsible, working in synergy with the police, but we are now having even the police itself not telling INEC the deployments they have. Because, you see, they have to say, okay, this is a polling booth we have. Police, how are you going to arrange this? And then they should work around that. But right now, the operational order that the police prepared in the last Saturday election, you know, they copied everybody without copying INEC. Now, if you don't copy INEC, how do they get to know, you know, what you're doing? So there is a gap right there. And then you are now bringing in the military again, and the military is going to also go ahead and apparently they will not listen to the police, and they are going to carry out their own.
So who is going to be in charge? Who do you think should be in charge of security on election day?
Like I said, the primary security agency is police.
Do you think that with the declaration of the Chief of Army Staff, do you think people will feel safe going out to vote on election day?
People, there is going to be a lot of apathy, you know, even because of this postponement now. A lot of people who are very enthusiastic to come to vote are going to stay back because they feel, oh, I cannot even travel. You know, the airlines are trying, but they cannot, you know, find out. People are not going to actually go out. The number will decrease. The number of voters will decrease.
Because of this very statement?
Because of the statement, because of the postponement, and because of all kinds of economic...
So what do you think can be done by Buratai, the Chief of Army Staff himself, or the coaches that brought about this discussion, what can they do to upturn such that people will feel more encouraged to go out tomorrow, I mean on election day on Saturday, to vote?
I think they are not doing a very good public relations. You know, I think the military meant well. If actually, come to think about it, if somebody is going to snatch a ballot paper, ballot box and run away, the guy should be, you know, dealt with, you know, because it has been a big problem. And like I said, it is a threat that has really diminished. And right now we have vote buying that is coming to play. And then, of course, all the logistics problem that INEC is having right now, you know, which should be addressed.
Okay, now let's take you back to that Electoral Act, the law where I spoke about, because if you were in service and you saw or you heard that directive from the president, and then you see this particular section of the Electoral Act 29(3, where it says, notwithstanding the provisions of any other law and for the purposes of securing the vote, the Commission shall be responsible for requesting for the deployment of relevant security personnel necessary for election or registration of voters and shall assign them in the manner determined by the Commission in consultation with with the relevant security agencies.
Exactly.
If you saw this and you heard the president's comments, how do you position yourself on the day?
Well, the law is very clear. The law is saying that the security agencies will work in consultation with INEC.
So did they take instructions from INEC on that day?
On that day, you know, one thing is this. Let me put it this way. Presidential directives are directives that are generic, given to security agencies.
No, but in this case, does it undermine the Electoral Act?
Well, lawyers will go, and you have to have lawyers to go and interpret that. Okay. But as a security person or as a security agencies on the field, they are there to work with INEC, and they will obey what INEC is telling them. But again, the president have said that anybody, without the president saying it, if we've seen situations where people come to collect ballot boxes and run away and nobody says anything, including the police looking at them. Now the president have said it, and please, there is a mistaken problem here. It is not only for, he said all. It's not just for APC or PDP people, because the opposition people are thinking that it is just their people that are being targeted. But anybody that does it will face the music.